you know it's called. The guy that made it is probably your neighbor. We start with Game 2, Bucks-Nets last night. As Nick Wright would say, I'm old enough to remember yesterday when we discussed how James Harden's absence would impact the Nets. Turns out that answer, not at all. Nets blowing the doors off the Bucks in this one, winning by 39 points. Milwaukee loses. Brooklyn takes a 2-0 series lead in this. Kevin Durant leading the way with 32 points and with 0 injury concerns. Take a listen to what I mean.
Tomorrow will mark 2 years since you initially injured your calf. I know you worked your butt off to get to this point, but did you ever think you'd be this good?
Is that a real question? Of course. I mean, yeah. What you want me to say to that? Of course I did.
It's pretty impressive what you've been able to do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But, I mean, that was 2 years ago. I'm looking forward to just getting up tomorrow and going to practice, watching film, and seeing how we can get better. But, you know, I appreciate that. But, you know, that was too long ago.
At the end of the day, I don't get too high, I don't get too low. You know, even after the Miami series, you know, we was up 4-0. Coming to this series, I wasn't high, and now we're down 2-0. I'm not low. You know, I'm just, you know, keep doing what I'm doing, keep trusting my work, keep trusting my teammate, keep believing in the team, keep believing in the habits we built all year, and hopefully, Game 3 we can get a win.
Kind of feel like maybe Giannis needs to do just a little more than all of that. Hey, Brandon. Through 2 games, is Brooklyn's domination in this series more about the Bucks or is it about the Nets?
Listen, definitely, got a little to do with Giannis and the Bucks, but this is all about the Nets. I mean, look at this team last night. You know, the first half, stifling defense. You know, they're forcing turnovers. You know, just seeing them close out was phenomenal. We talked a lot about their defense, and seeing them take that to a whole nother level was something to see. And then offensively, I mean, we talked about this yesterday, Nick. PJ Tucker trying to guard KD. He was embarrassing him. He almost broke Giannis's ankles a few times last night. And it was a team effort. It wasn't just Kyrie and KD putting up 30-something points. That wasn't it. I mean, this team all contributed. I think they're exceeding their expectations. Offensively, we knew what we were going to get. After they came together, you saw James Harden sacrifice, and you saw what they were going to do when they did play together, just the few games they did. You knew you were going to get on the offensive side. But defensively, how do you hold a team to 86 points that roll out of bed and put up 120? Like, think about that. That defense last night was tremendous, and for that reason, I think they're exceeding their own expectations, Nick.
Yeah, listen, last night the Nets played an almost perfect game of basketball. I mean, they, on both ends of the court, it was the best game this team has played, I would argue, all season. Certainly the best game in the playoffs, and they did it without Harden. The story through 2 games, through last night, pardon me, was about the Nets. The story through 2 games is partially about the Nets, but also partially about the man who we heard from, and not Kevin Durant and Jared Greenberg, but Giannis. Because Giannis is about to play here on Thursday evening, arguably the biggest game of his career up to this point. Because if they go down 3-0, obviously the series is over. And while it is hard to pin a loss when you are down by 49 at one point on any one guy, last night, Giannis did not look at all like Giannis. And he looked almost like he was out to prove something to the Nets rather than trying to attack them where he has been successful attacking them all year long. While Blake Griffin is having a resurgence in Brooklyn, one that might cause the city of Detroit to file a class action suit against him for clearly just throwing that season, waiting to get out of there, which I don't blame him for, by the way. Blake can't guard Giannis off the dribble, and Giannis kept letting him off the hook. And then there's Blake dunking for the first time in a couple years. I mean, Blake's athletic resurgence is unbelievable, but it's another story. That Giannis has been very adamant before the playoffs. You remember the quote where he's like, I can't promise it'll go different, but what I can promise is I won't get too high, I won't get too low. I won't focus on just a win or just a loss. That is going to be put to the test. because Giannis knows that if they lose on Thursday, Bud's going to get fired. Giannis knows that if they lose on Thursday, it will, fair or otherwise, Wilds, further undercut what he did the last 2 seasons prior to this one and winning those MVPs. And Giannis knows in order for Milwaukee to win, they must follow the blueprint from the regular season, which was Giannis score 40, they collapse the defense, and hit open threes. It all starts with him. So the Nets played a brilliant game of basketball yesterday. I'm taking nothing away from them. But bigger picture, right now it's about Giannis, who could in these playoffs is the best player alive, or could in these playoffs working on his 3rd head coach in 5 years.
Yeah, I get, Nick, the don't get too high, don't get too low. But if I was Coach Bud, I'd be like, Giannis, you know what? Why don't we try to get too high, or like just for, a quarter, or let's try to get too low and start playing angry. Do you know, like, speaking of aggressiveness, if you were not in Giannis's family, you didn't attempt a free throw last night. Giannis was 2 for 7, and Thanasis was 2 for 2. That's it. Bucks made 4 made free throws through the entire game. Do I think that is a bad sign that you're not attacking the rim? Yes. Do I think the blowout is this like sky is falling moment for the Bucks? Not really. The team has played 5 times now through the regular season and the playoffs. The home team won every game. The Bucks are going back to Milwaukee. They shoot better from 3. They shoot better from the line. And Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday score in the 20s instead of scoring in the teens. And I know, Brandon, you're like, oh, the blowout. Oh, what about the blowout? Well, you know what? It's not college football. You don't get extra points from the AP coaches poll if you beat a team by 40. It's just a win. So while it looked bad on paper and everyone is expecting the media to crush the Bucks, it's just a loss. They have to go back home, tie it up 2-2, and then try to steal one in Brooklyn.
It's just a loss. Did you not watch the game last night? Did you not watch the game Saturday?
I did watch it, the whole
Man,
thing,
come
twice.
on. This is not, they're not playing against the Hawks. They're not playing against even the 76ers. They're playing against 2 of the best players to ever do it. There's no coming back from this, guys. It's over. This is personal for them. Think about it as an athlete's mindset. All we talked about was Kyrie's mindset and his mentality. Do he even love the game? Kevin Durant, look how he answered the question after the game. Are you serious? Is that a real question? This is personal for these boys. They're making a statement. That's why they're playing defense the way they're playing defense. That's why they're so efficient. Look at his face. This is personal. James Harden, he gets traded. We're talking about his stomach. We're talking about, he's not going to be able to sacrifice. He's too ball dominant. So for you to think that the Bucks have a chance after watching these last 2 games, that's confusing to me.
Well, Brandon, you said that this was going to be their toughest series of the playoffs. I think you picked the Nets in 6, which would mean the Bucks have to win 2 of these games. So to Wild's point, the games they would win most likely would be the home games. Now, I do think that because Harden went down, this 2-0 for Milwaukee actually feels worse than a typical 2-0 because you would have had to hope you could have stolen one of the 2 games when James Harden didn't play. Now, I would be shocked if he plays on Thursday. They're certainly not going to rush him back after they annihilated Milwaukee last night. They will give him extra time, and I don't even know. They were very cagey, like a hamstring. What did they call it? They didn't even call it a strain. They called it hamstring tightness. Like, I don't know exactly what Harden is dealing with, so I don't know if it would be giving him extra time or the time he needs. So I understand why Milwaukee's mindset is one right now of desperation. But what they have to do is win Game 3 on Thursday. And in order to do that, Giannis has to get back to doing what he had done against the Nets every time they played this year prior to last night. His approach last night was an odd one and one I didn't expect to see from him. It was like he thought he was going to hit a bunch of jump shots when that's never been his game.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things that, I said is they're exceeding their own expectations. They're certainly exceeding mine. You know, you look at game one of the things that we highlighted yesterday, we said it wasn't going to fly, 20% from the three-point line, from deep. And then last night, 29%. Man, that defense, the closeout, they're just, the scheme that they're throwing out there, the young Steve Nash is unbelievable. You're seeing what they're doing against Giannis. You're seeing how they're playing Middleton. You're seeing how they're playing Drew Holiday and PJ Tucker. They have a game plan for everybody on the court, no matter what moment it is. It's amazing to watch.
You also wonder if Milwaukee came into that series a little overconfident from what they did to Miami and how they played Brooklyn earlier in the season, and perhaps, you don't have to raise your hand, you can just jump in, and perhaps weren't fully prepared for what they saw with this Brooklyn team. Kevin.
Can I just add one? I know we're up against the break. Brandon, to start the show, after your Nets